I feel like what happens is when you attach yourself to someone like Ice Spice or other racially ambiguous girls in friendship dynamics, you think that it's going to elevate your career. And I think that Cleotrapa really thought that her being with friends with Ice Spice was going to elevate your career. But what happens is that you see success earlier. Yeah, you blow earlier, but then you plateau hard, right? You can't get out of the fact that you're just now the friend, the protector, the security guard, the laborer for someone like Ice Spice or somebody who's racially ambiguous. You end up becoming their worker.
Sometimes it don't make no sense. Does it really have to? There is no.
Hi, welcome to Mayowa's World. Hi y'all, welcome to Mayowa's World. My name is Mayowa, and on my channel I talk about colorism, featureism, texturism. Today I want to jump into the discussion around Ice Spice and friendship dynamics that are rooted in colorism. There has been so much discourse around things going on between Ice Spice and a rapper called Cleotrapa, but I want to add nuance and talk about the systemic things at play. So for those who aren't really up to date with what's going on, Ice Spice is a rapper who is from New York. She had a really viral song and propelled into like mainstream success very, very, very quickly. Ice Spice then did a collaboration with Nicki Minaj, which I think also added to her success and to her fame. So Ice Spice was friends with a rapper called Cleotrapa. Cleotrapa has been around on social media for many, many years. Most of us would have known of Cleotrapa before we knew of Ice Spice.
That was too good. Let's get the bell per.
She has some really viral moments. She's very funny. She's a content creator who has also pivoted into making music. Personally, I've been known that Ice Spice is somebody who harbors colorism for a good little minute. I was so irked out by the discussions of her race and her ethnicity. People were really saying like, oh, Ice Spice looks Nigerian, Ice Spice looks Nigerian. And I was just like, what is going on? She does not look Nigerian at all. And I remember in the beginning when her career started, people were like, no, Ice Spice is fully black. She has 2 black parents, blah, 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 blah. When I looked at Ice Spice, I never saw a black person. I thought maybe she looked like she could be like a non-black Hispanic person. She even could look like she's like a bit Asian, kind of like Central C a little bit. But I never saw a black woman at that. Personally, I'm of the camp that if I am not able to phenotypically read you as black, I'm not going to see you as black. I'm not going to go down like a journalistic investigation to see what your parents are like, because I feel like when you're going through the world, you're not going through the world as a black woman. And I remember when Ice Spice did an interview with Vogue magazine, I think it was Vogue, and they had asked her about colorism and if she thinks she benefits from colorism. Her answer was really terrible. And that was everything that gave me everything I needed to know, you know, because not only are you someone who benefits off of racial ambiguity, but now you also don't really think colorism has played a factor into your success. For me, that was when I washed my hands, because what interest would I have building up someone who doesn't even believe in an experience like myself. Cleotrapa recently came out and called out Ice Spice for a really terrible experience that she had on tour with Ice Spice. Ice Spice had asked Cleotrapa to come on tour with her and that she shouldn't worry because things would be covered on Ice Spice's behalf. Cleotrapa gets on tour and is come to find out that she's having a really terrible experience. And she thinks that the reason that she's having a terrible experience is because when Cleotrapa was asked in an interview if Ice Spice was Nigerian, she said she doesn't know.
And even for her to apologize was like pulling teeth. Like, girl, you got caught calling your friend jealous for no reason. And her excuse was that I didn't speak up when I was asked if she was Nigerian. Like, girl, I met you a month before that video. I didn't even know you was Nigerian. So that was kind of weird to me too, that she was upset at me for not knowing if she was Nigerian. And she said that you could have at least said I was black. Like, girl, I didn't even know you. Am I your PR? Am I supposed to be clearing up every time somebody's asking about you being black or Nigerian? Like, that's not my role, and I don't even know you.
And so Cleotrapa thinks that because Cleotrapa wasn't a black woman willing to validate a mixed race person's identity in that moment, she started to distance herself from Cleotrapa. And she would just do like really typical mean girl things. But this isn't our first time hearing about colorism on behalf of Ice Spice, because there's an artist called Baby Stormy, and she had called out Ice Spice for many things and released text messages where Ice Spice had called Cleotrapa jealous. But I feel like when we talk about this whole Ice Spice thing, we really need to be honest about stereotypes and tropes that happen within colorism, especially around friendships. Because there is an expectation that dark-skinned people will do the labor for light-skinned girls. Like dark-skinned women will do the labor for light-skinned women in every way, and you see it represented in media. Cleotrapa wasn't willing to do even more for Ice Spice, to validate Ice Spice in a way that she doesn't have to do for herself, right? Because if Ice Spice wanted to really go off this whole I'm Nigerian narrative, which personally I would have never believed it anyway, she could have gone and done the interview herself and cleared it up herself. But no, she wanted Cleotrapa to do the labor of explaining and defending her. And I feel like people like Ice Spice is used to Black women, dark-skinned women defending her, uplifting her, and protecting her. And that's kind of how she sees dark-skinned people. I feel like a lot of people see dark-skinned women as their personal bodyguards, as their like dogs of like attacking and protecting and like standing up for. Like there's just a lot of dynamics that happen within friendships where it doesn't go both ways, right? There was a part of the series where Cleotrapa was talking about how Ice Spice had her security carry 10 of her bags, and Cleotrapa had to be someone who was literally carrying her own bag by herself. And like this idea that, you know, that is very symbolic of like, I am a racially ambiguous woman. I do not have to work hard. I do not have to do it as much. You are a dark-skinned woman. You have to do so much more, and I will not even help you. There's this illusion that Cleotrapa is getting so much from Ice Spice, but I really feel that within these colorism dynamics of like a dark-skinned friend and like a light-skinned unsupportive friend, the light-skinned person is actually benefiting the most. And let me tell you why. The racially ambiguous person is going to often mirror and mimic mannerisms and styles of the dark-skinned person. Like I can very much so see the influence that Cleotrapa had on Ice Spice. And I feel like Cleotrapa entered into this friendship dynamic thinking that this was going to help her career. But I actually think that it really dims your light. Like I feel like being under a light-skinned person who has more success for you and doing less labor cannot be good for your mental health and isn't going to be good for how you carry yourself either. Because you end up being pigeonholed as the friend of someone else, which I think can be very detrimental for a dark-skinned person. You see these dynamics when you think of Pam and Gina from Martin. Pam was consistently dogged out on Martin. Pam was the comedic relief on Martin. You know, Black dark-skinned women were mimicked, right? Shaniqua was a caricature of a Black woman. Pam was likened to a man. Pam was seen as really ugly, but when you really look at Pam, Pam was that girl. Pam was gorgeous. Pam was eating. Pam was doing all these things, right? But because she ended up playing this like super specific caricature of a person, I don't think her career is the same as Gina. I forgot the real actress's name, but their career is not the same. Tashina Campbell is someone who has so much talent, but you end up being under a light-skinned person. Another example of how you see this in media is when it comes to the Proud family. Dejanay ends up being like a dark-skinned caricature of like a loud, kind of a bit ditzy dark-skinned woman, and she ends up supporting Penny Proud. And then Dejanay's character becomes stripped because it's like you are a supporting role to someone else. You are just there for support. I feel like her engaging with Ice Spice in this way dimmed her light, it dimmed her aura. Another example too of when you see these colorism dynamics was in the group 3LW and how they treated Notori, and how like she was just also very talented but ends up being like the friend or the dark-skinned one in the group. Like this is like being a supporting role is not going to ever be good for you. I feel like what happens is when you attach yourself to someone like Ice Spice or other racially ambiguous girls in friendship dynamics, you think that it's going to elevate your career. And I think that Cleotrapa really thought that her being with friends with Ice Spice was going to elevate your career. But what happens is that you see success earlier. Yeah, you blow earlier, but then you plateau hard, right? You can't get out of the fact that you're just now the friend, the protector, the security guard, the laborer for someone like Ice Spice or somebody who's racially ambiguous. You end up becoming their worker. And then they cipher and they just take and take and take from you. They take your aesthetics, they take the way you talk, they take everything, they take the actual talent, the actual work from you, and then you're left with nothing. It's a bit vampiric, to be honest. You know, it kind of reminds me of like when Paris Hilton was making music and people were like, oh, I like Paris Hilton because she's like pretty and does nothing and like sees success. I feel like people feel the same way about Ice Spice. They're like, oh, it's so cool that she's just like mediocre and like has so much success. But I really feel like us constantly platforming and like looking up to people who can be incredibly mediocre and see success is literally what contributes to colorism. As why do you want to, why is it that who you always want to reward for being mediocre is always light skin or white or racially ambiguous? Why don't you want to ever give someone mediocrity who is like a fat, dark skinned woman or something? Or, you know what I mean? Like, why is the marker of success always going to be someone who doesn't have to work as hard? And I think that's what people saw in her. I think that people saw themselves in Ice Spice because they wanted that level of success very quickly. But that can't be replicated unless you are someone who is racially ambiguous and has the privilege to work less, like to see success quicker. I also want to talk about how Nicki Minaj stirred the pot in this whole thing. I feel that Ice Spice, because she saw so much success so quickly, she started to think she was on the same level as Nicki Minaj, and she started to act like Nicki Minaj. She started to act just as wicked and just as mean and just as like catty. But like the thing is that Nicki Minaj is mean, Nicki Minaj is catty, and Nicki Minaj is wicked, but she's talented. And like even with me not liking where she's gone, and I feel like she's really ruined her career in so many ways, and like me not liking the things about Nicki Minaj that's come out in recent years, you have to admit she has talent. Like she's someone who actually has put in time into her craft and has really worked her way through it. So she has talent and she's wicked. Ice Spice doesn't have talent and she's wicked. Like you can't do both. You know what I mean? You got to pick one or the other. You got to be nice and not have talent, or be wicked and have talent. You know what I mean? Like it. And also too, even within the relationship that Baby Stormy had with Ice Spice, like that also just seemed like a laborer relationship where she was like her worker, because the way she was writing her was like almost in so much servitude to Ice Spice. Like it just seems like everybody around her is in servitude, and if you're not in servitude, you're kind of out there, especially if you are a Black woman, because she doesn't see them as like, she doesn't see us as like worthy. And so often Black women end up becoming in servitude to racially ambiguous women. I wouldn't be surprised if Ice Spice's career ends up like J-Lo's, where it's like you're not really, like your talent is dating Black men. Like you are a non-Black woman dating Black men. That is your superpower. If there's gonna be a superpower, like that is J-Lo's superpower. And like J-Lo steals, you know what I mean? Like J-Lo, allegedly, J-Lo be taken from the girlies. So, you know, I feel that now that she doesn't have Nicki Minaj's fan base supporting her, she is kind of on her own. And that's like really annoying that, you know, Nicki poured her resources into someone who benefits from racial ambiguity like that. But am I surprised? No, I'm not. Oh yeah, so if you made it to the end, let me know what you like about my makeup. I just was trying out different things. Yeah, y'all, if you made it to the end, let me know what you like about my makeup. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.